But Bob, you and I have had multiple discussions about where clinically useful ideas come from, and I've enjoyed learning your perspective and some of your experience seeing tools be developed and brought through this pipeline which we've described. And so what sort of advice can you give people as they're in the idea formation stage?
So good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, I guess, if you're out of the East Coast. I want to begin by thanking, can everybody hear me and see me okay? Yeah, okay. So I want to thank Daniel and the organizers for inviting me. I want to, intend to share some of my own perspectives on this topic to stimulate discussion, as Daniel has described. But I also want to acknowledge that I've had the privilege of working with many other people in this space at the interface between pain and technology, even more broadly, pain and informatics, which I think has an important interface here as well. But I particularly want to acknowledge the contributions of a small group of colleagues with whom I've been meeting over the past several months to specifically discuss the intersection between pain management and technology. And so a lot of my comments, I want to make sure that people understand that when I'm speaking, it's, yes, I want to own what I say, but I also want to acknowledge that I've really benefited from the perspectives and visions from a number of people, but specifically Carrie Reed, who's at Cornell University in Manhattan, Roger Fillingham at the University of Florida. I should mention Carrie is a internist geriatrician who I worked with early and served as a mentor of his early in his career at Yale before he went to Cornell. Roger Fillingham, past president of the American Pain Society, a psychologist also who studies individual differences, has a particular interest also in aging. Mary Janovic, who's at the University of Michigan, whose expertise and background is in the area of health education and health communication. And quite importantly, Elizabeth Murnane, who recently moved to Dartmouth, where she's in the engineering program and brings the perspective of somebody with interest and expertise at the human technology machine interface. So with that, I would just say that, I think we particularly need to focus on technological innovations in the care of persons with chronic pain, which, as everybody understands, is an expensive and complex biopsychosocial condition that often requires multifaceted professional care and support for patient self-management in particular. But that even with our many and growing investments in this field, I think we've fallen short. And so I'm interested in sharing some ideas either now or through the discussion about more on the than just acknowledging the barriers, but really thinking outside the box about what we can do to try to advance science, clinical science, and ultimately care of people with pain, broadly speaking, but maybe with a particular focus on people with chronic high impact pain. My thoughts really are informed by thinking about my own experience and then sharing that with others who I think have similar experiences in working in this space, where we see, in my experience particularly, it's been somewhat siloed. That is, I think a lot of my work has come from the perspective of with interest in pain and pain management, maybe particularly as a psychologist, and psychological approaches, and all maybe in the service of promoting adaptive pain self-management. And then in the context of wanting to stay fresh and particularly thinking about issues of access, I got interested in partnering with others in the technology space. But I have to say, I'm not an expert in that world. And so what did I do? And why do I think this is important? Because I think I sought out, I had some preconceived notions of the potential technology solution and sought out people who were experts in that particular solution. And I think this is a lot of what happens in the field. The flip side of that is that people maybe in the technology space develop a new technology or some advance and look for people that they can collaborate with in terms of some application or proof of concept of that approach. And I think we want to move away from this kind of siloed approach to thinking about opportunities for bringing together interdisciplinary teams, not just teams of scientists, but I want to emphasize the role of other potential stakeholders or partners, I guess is a better term, including people with lived experience and others, including some of the people that represent other organizational entities that are involved in this discussion today.
Yeah, and I think that totally makes sense. And I really like that perspective. Like if any idea is going to impact patients, clinicians, and have technology implemented, why not have all of those people together at the idea formation stage, like see what the pressure points are and then be able to work together to develop something really cool. So the three groups that you're suggesting were again the patients, the clinicians, and then the technology companies. And like, what experiences have you had bringing those people together, and what sort of results have you seen as a result of that collaboration?
Well, I have to say,
collaboratory, I think is how you called it before. Yeah.
Well, the collaboratory, yes. And I think, the important thing about this collaboratory, so this is a large enterprise, tri-government agency partnership involving NIH, particularly the NCCI, National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Department of Defense. It really supports 11 pragmatic clinical trials of non-pharmacologic approaches to pain management embedded that are being enacted in either the military or veteran health systems, which themselves have great advantages in this regard. They're both integrated learning health systems. They have, demonstrated, capacity for using their existing longstanding electronic health records to support this kind of embedded research. But most importantly to this context, they brought together people to study interventions or care pathways with some level of existing efficacy or even effectiveness evidence. And then mostly are focusing on this pragmatic end of that, mechanism to implementation continuum. And in that context, I've just experienced, and I think we have testimonials from many people participating with us of this, the benefits of this shared and objective and commitment to participating in a collective learning environment. So in fact, I think we've already, in the few years that we've been in existence, shown a lot of benefits of this, process of shared learning, identifying problems, gaps, and then really sharing best practices and solutions across the collaboratory for the benefit of all of us. I have to say several of the projects do specifically involve what we might call e-health or mobile health or other technology related interventions. And that's great, but that's not been the particular focus. The other thing I'd say though, is this group that I mentioned earlier. I mean, it brings together, truly people from different walks of life, so to speak.
Right.
All of it's academic, I have to say. And it doesn't include some of these other key partners like persons with lived experience or other stakeholders. But, I think each of us draw on those kind of partnerships in other aspects of our life. Just the idea of us coming together. Early on, we were meeting every other week. Now it's been more monthly as we're really working on a product. It's just been, a great synergistic experience to have this opportunity. It's not funded, but it's all because of our interest and commitment to trying to learn for ourselves, but also to, benefit from these kinds of partnerships.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like you formed an excellent community where you can share ideas, and once you have the ideas, of course, it sounds like you've also been very successful in securing grant funding and gathering evidence to demonstrate whether there's validity to a certain technology or tool set. And so